too. So it's been a while since I've done a micronational video, and I thought that with some recent events going on, I think I'd like to just do this video just to clarify a few things. Now, as you can tell from this title, I'm talking about two things. I'm talking about sovereign citizens, and I'm talking about micronations or micronationalists, however you want to put it. So first of all, what are sovereign citizens? Sovereign citizens are people who believe that certain laws don't apply to them for a variety of reasons. They're basically conspiracy theorists, living conspiracy theorists, who believe that their conspiracy theories are real, and as a result they live it out, which leads to some rather nutty stuff like car windows getting broken out. Micronations or micronationalists, just for a little bit of review, are small self-declared states that typically actually do not exert a whole lot of sovereignty on the area that they claim. They claim to be sovereign entities, and they usually do this using a Geneva Convention loophole and definitions very loosely. You could tell these people are a little bit more on the libertarian side. Claim that they have a territory, that they have a working government, and that they can actually exercise their sovereignty. And they usually use a lot of different loopholes, like legal loopholes, territorial loopholes, stuff like that. Example being, there's a lot of micronations in the Antarctic where there's literally no claimed territory. Now, listening to this, you might think that the two groups might have something in common, but here is where things differ a little bit. Sovereign citizens are pretty much anti-government, in case you have not caught on. Micronationalists organize a government. They are not anti-government. They are very much for government, and they usually respect the authority of macronational governments. For all intents and purposes, they're really a smaller organizational structure similar to, I don't know, a homeowners association. Here's another thing, whereas sovereign citizens aren't really aware that they're a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, micronationalists are self-aware that we are quirky. We're a quirky bunch. Most of us are artists. Yeah, we know this. We know that someone's gonna look at it and think that we're a tad bit unusual. Members of my own family don't get me being a micronationalist. Another thing is we respect the authority, as I mentioned, macronational governments, as we refer to larger nations as. Actually, most mainstream micronational leaders very much reinforce that. John Farr, the co-founder of West 2, refer to West 2 as domestic dependent nation, which is pretty much the type of government that the US recognizes Native American reservation governments to be. Bob Molossia, in a documentary, which I will link down in the description below, specifically says that you need to learn to work within the government structure that you have. In fact, Molossia pays taxes to governments based on the various business levels, and he refers to it as foreign aid. McHenry has also talked about respecting governments as well, and Queen Caroline of Ladonia, my micronation, on one of the elections, I can't remember which one, sent out a tweet saying that micronationalists are pretty much dual citizens and should be participating in government elections, stuff like that. The reason why I bring this all up is because there's been some overlap, and this has pretty much been since the beginning. Some micronations claiming to be actual nations so that members don't have to pay taxes. There's actually some micronations that during this pandemic crisis are saying that they're still open and they can give hugs, which is not recommended. So yeah, there is overlap because there's overlap in a whole bunch of stuff. For example, one of the more kooky differences in factions would be the American faction, which overlaps with the legitimate Moorish Science Temple of America, which is an actual religious organization which could be considered a religion or sect offshoot of Islam. And then there's certain Christian sects that also have kind of a sovereign citizen way of approaching things, despite the fact that within the Bible it specifically says, be subject to the authorities appointed over you. Read that part of your Bible, did ya? I digress, and once again stating that these rare overlaps are exactly that, rare. They're exceptions to the rule. Sovereign citizens are anti-government. They're very radical, sometimes dangerous people. Micronationalists are typically quirky. So that's it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see from me in the future. Maybe more talk about micronationalists, maybe more talk about sovereign citizens. I've been looking to do a video about that. This will be the first in what might be a series. To show how serious I am about possibly doing a sovereign citizen series, here's my Black's Law Dictionary, the Sovereign Citizen Bible. At Matthew Salzer is both my personal Twitter handle and my Instagram. Be sure to follow those. Thank you very much for watching. Have a blessed day.